Hello, welcome to the Tinker vlog. It's me, Bevan Clatt, with you for Tinkerbot Games. I just wanted to talk very quickly about something that came up during the recent playtests I did for my game called Spoonicorns. So for those that don't know, the basic idea behind Spoonicorns was this: you're an ice cream shop owner and you're sending these, using dice, which are these Spoonicorn characters. So you roll some dice at the beginning of each turn and you send those dice up the mountains to collect, you know, ice creams and things for you and different toppings. And then part of the game is that you'll have contracts that you have to fulfill. I'll show that under there, look. Oh, it's not very good with the thing. Yeah, contracts you have to fulfill. So you're basically making ice creams for these kids. Whoever makes the ice creams the best will get little tips and bonuses at the bottom and score victory points at the end. And there's also sort of different other mechanics where you can sort of climb up using other people's dice, and if you use other people's dice they get little bonuses for you doing so. And then you could also, at some points during the game, exploit these very cute Spoonicorns. So the Spoonicorns are sort of these mythical creatures that are basically unicorns with a little scoopy shovel on their heads, designed to sort of scoop out those ice creams and ingredients and plop them down onto these ice cream vendors down at the bottom of the thing where you could complete it. It has some very simple mechanics. You're moving cubes around on this sort of baseboard that you can probably just about see there. You know, to keep it a nice clean framework, a nice easygoing framework. Now, the problem I was starting to encounter, and it came up a few times in my playtesting, was that Spoonicorns is a very sort of cutesy, it's very charming, it's very child-friendly kind of theme. You know, it's these magical unicorns, and they're going up and doing these things with ice creams. But the problem was the gameplay itself was starting to develop into something quite heavy. Games were taking about an hour, which is obviously too long for most games that involve children. You want to keep those down to a lean half an hour. There's lots of decision making in there, so you have to decide which dice to use, how much you can push those dice up the mountains. Do I use somebody else's dice and risk giving them the ingredients and things that they might want and they might need? Which children do I pick? Do I the contracts that you pick up for making the ice creams for the children? Do I want the ones that allow me to complete more contracts in one go, or do I want the ones that give me more ice cream, or do I want the ones that allow me to store more things, for later turns? And yeah, they just started to become a lot of decision making. Oh, and then the Spoonicorns themselves became another decision point. Do I spend the die to do one of the Spoonicorn actions, or do I go into the kitchen? Which bit of the kitchen do I use? Do I take a lot of waste, knowing that I can get rid of some waste in a minute, or do I, I bide my time, make sure I've got loads of contracts that I can complete in one hit and take the minimum amount of waste? And yeah, like I said, it started to develop into a game that had a lot of extra moving parts that were a bit more than you'd expect from like a child's game. So one of the comments that seems to keep coming up during feedback sessions is, I enjoy the game, gameplay's great, love the theme, love the idea of the theme, the two just don't seem to gel together. So, I sat down with the lovely Robin Elliott, I'll get around it, Robin Elliott, Dave Mortimer and Michael Kent, who helped me play test it the last time, and we kind of had a little think about what this could be instead. So basically it's going to be rethemed as a robot building factory, but they're crap robots essentially. They're not very good robots. Well, I say not very good, they're unusual robots, shall we say. So instead of collecting toppings and ice creams, you're collecting power cores, which are the central bits of this robot, and then accessories for the robots: arms, legs, heads, the traditional things, tools and lasers, that kind of thing. And then it's on a little conveyor belt system here, so instead of the mountains, it's a conveyor belt. You've got to grab them before they disappear, off the end. The oldest conveyor belt obviously pushes all of its stuff along and it's running a bit faster. And mechanics like that. So you can see the symbology is roughly the same, but there's also going to be these, I don't know if you can quite see those in the image. I've come up with some kind of weird designs based on the sort of the ingredients lists that you'll come up with. So those are contracts now instead to build these robots for people. So trying to make sure that, a contract that says I need a robot with 2 heads and nothing else. What do? You've got 2 heads smushed together and they roll around, and then you get the roller snitch and all sorts of crazy things like that. So I've gone and changed up the artwork a little bit there, because that would hopefully tie into the theme. And then obviously the kids contracts become the robo contracts. So these pictures here will eventually get stuck onto these, just to add a little bit of flavour, because I don't know about you guys, I like to add a bit of a bit of spice, a bit of flavour to my prototypes to make sure they're visually attractive. But I'm not going to abandon Spoonicorns. It's a great theme, it's an interesting theme, just because it is, as I said, kid-friendly and charming. So I might see if I can pare back the mechanics for what will now become Tinkerbots, or whatever I call this game here, into something that Spoonicorns would more like to represent. So maybe use custom dice instead of the mountains, and you just pick the dice that you want. So it's more kid-friendly. You know, the kids are trying to pick the ingredients they need, but there'll have to be some sort of decision-making process that says don't just take the one you definitely need. There may be better ones later on, or something like that. Don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, so that's basically where I'm going with that. There's, and it's come up a couple of times with other games where I've had to retheme them because the theme just didn't quite help. Another example is my Pixel game. I've redesigned that several times, just basically broken it completely to pieces and tried to rebuild it from the ground up. And the feedback I'm getting now is that the game is much stronger. It's a much better game, but it seems to have moved too far away from what the original premise was of this arcade, where the computer characters are using this opportunity of like a power cut or a memory change or whatever to build their own consoles and games and take over the arcade essentially. So yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I think the robot theme will work for Spoonicorns, but it's definitely a case of trying to shoehorn all the different things. I mean, the Spoonicorns are now gone. They're now engineers. So you get a handful of engineer cards that you can spend certain points during the round to try and boost up your economy and your ability to manufacture or collect resources. And it is tricky. I'm finding that I'm now trying a little bit to sort of shoehorn, the theme in around the mechanics. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to work, but I'm really looking forward to trying, because obviously I love robots. I love the whole robot building thing as well, so that's pretty cool. But have you guys ever encountered that out there yourself? When I say guys and girls, ladies, lads, anybody, whoever wants to get involved, you're all welcome here, obviously. But when I say guys, I mean everybody. And yeah, have you ever encountered a situation where you've needed to change a theme later on in the design process because you've iterated, and then suddenly you're too far away from the original theme, and now you've got to try and retheme it because those two things have now disconnected and they're not working together anymore. They don't make much sense. You might sell the game on its theme, and then suddenly everybody plays it and goes, "This is not what I expected. This is maybe not a bad game, but it's not the game I was expecting from this theme." And obviously you don't want to missell yourself. You don't want a situation where your game is billed as this easygoing, family-friendly style game, and then they get it, and it turns out it's this sprawling 4X style game that involves murder and death and all sorts of nasty things that just don't gel with a kid-friendly atmosphere, or vice versa, where you've got a very heavy-sounding theme that suddenly has mechanics that are incredibly light, incredibly basic, and are not what they're expecting because the theme was something really dark and dingy, like 7 Deadly Sins, and then it turns out it's a take that, push your luck dice game or something, like Zombie Dice or something like that. Well, that'd be quite cool. Write that down. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna try and keep this one nice and short again. I'm trying to keep these down if I can. But yeah, retheming. What do you guys think? Have you ever come into those situations where you've had to retheme later on, or discarded a theme and saved it for something else, or just do you guys always work within your theme and then just cut yourself back down to that theme, never push outside of it to make sure the mechanics always fit that theme? I think that's going to do for today actually, guys. So yeah, thanks very much. Cheers, bye.